Ugh.
And the only other release this week is a little known title from a small developer by the name of Nintendo, and they're releasing this thing they're working on called Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. That is out right now, and as I said, people are probably just playing it right now while listening to us bang on. So
Welcome.
appreciate.
Thanks for coming by.
Hopefully, we are enjoyable second monitor viewing for you during your adventures through Hyrule. Yeah. Well, first of all, I guess we'll say gonna play it really close to the chest with spoilers, and there's a lot of stuff that I just want to talk about now, even though I'm sure a lot of other reviewers will spoil it, right? Again, I don't want to say they're spoiling the game, by the way. I think it's perfectly fine to talk about a lot of this stuff within the context of a review. But when it comes to games that are as special as ones like these, I always am very cautious and very just err on the side of caution. So I'm going to sidestep a lot of things that I think you should discover for yourself. So,
Well, I have a question. Can we kick this off?
absolutely.
To start with,
Please
and if
do.
this is a spoiler, then please just divert me.
Sure.
Can you build a boat with the corpses of your enemies?
Sadly, you cannot build with corpses. I would
Shit.
have
I'm
given the
canceling my
game a
pre-order.
solid 11 out of 10, where we're able to make some corpse raft, and using limbs as propellers to move us forward. No, that would have been sick, but unfortunately not. No, you can't do that. But you can. Oh shit, you can build pretty much anything else you want. I mean, it's. I saw this TikTok of this person who made this giant statue, and because you hit things in the game to make them go, right? The Zonai devices, you hit them to turn them on. And it was this statue, and it was like a big mannequin going like left to right like this. And he had this massive dong. And as soon as someone turned it on, the dong went up and started spraying fire. It was incredible, right?
Nintendo has no idea what they've done.
Nintendo
God.
has no idea what is in store for them when it comes to people's imagination for building lewds. So yeah, no, look, put I don't know what the exact number of my playthrough, how many hours my playthrough was, but it was at least 70 hours to get through this, right? This game is so unbelievably massive, because I think an average playthrough for Breath of the Wild was 50 hours or so. But yeah, definitely all the reviewers that I've spoken to, no one's getting through this in less than 70 hours. I've definitely spoken to some reviewers who are about 80 hours plus. And even then, when we finish it, everyone is like, there's still so much that we haven't touched, so much of this world we haven't explored, so much we haven't seen, so many side quests undone, still not finished. I spoke to one reviewer who was being pretty thorough, and he said he had over 40 side quests just in his log unfinished. And that's after he'd done a whole boatload of them as well, right? So unbelievably massive, was not ready for it. Biggest game since Elden Ring. And just really remarkable. Man, I can't wait for you guys to play it. I can't wait for everyone to play it. It's just incredible. It really is. I don't know. It's hard to really sort of talk about it here and just talk endlessly. Yes, questions is going to be probably a good way to drive it.
Were you compelled by the story?
I actually was quite a bit more, in fact, than I was in Breath of the Wild. Definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And, but I don't want to hype it up too much. I don't
Yeah.
think structurally it's told in quite the same way, right? It is still about flashbacks, and it's about you see some cutscenes and whatever. But I do think that the framing of it all is far more mythic, and some of the revelations are so much more exciting. At one point, I literally screamed at my screen when there was a big drop, and I was like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Because it was just that level of I can't believe this, it definitely has the power to move you both through its core storytelling, but also the way that it just tugs at those Zelda heartstrings. It knows the things that you really love about this series, and it knows how to use them correctly within the context of this story that it's telling. So again, I don't want to hype it up too much. I don't think it's vastly different than Breath of the Wild in terms of how it's told, but I do think it is a better story. Yes, for sure.
Can I use the word ludonarrative dissonance here? Pardon me.
Yeah, go on.
Is Link building cars out of trees in cutscenes and shit?
Oh, no, he's not. There are no cutscenes involving Well, not really. Again, I'm not. It's not really a spoiler to say that like Link's not really a feature of those cutscenes. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
again, it's
Mm.
him sort of viewing events that had happened at other places and other times, right? So whenever you see Link, you're usually just in control of him, or he's standing next to someone doing the dialogue box thing where you guys are just talking about what's up. You know? So yeah, yeah.
How about and sorry guys, stop me if I'm asking too many
No,
questions.
go for it.
Like the loot, combat, armor, like it seems like there's a lot more, but is it meaningful? Is it satisfying, or is it,
I would say one thing that's really important to know about Tears of the Kingdom is it is absolutely Breath of the Wild 2. It's very much a sequel. And I had wondered whether or not this would be kind of like Majora's Mask, right? Which was a real remix and it felt very different to Ocarina. This feels very similar in many core aspects. But it feels like almost all of the aspects have been enhanced, improved, made better, made bigger, with the exception of stuff like combat and quality of life. So combat is still the same. It's still the same sort of weapon styles and move sets. You can fuse items to weapons now, which definitely adds some strategic aspect to combat, where it's like, oh, this enemy is weak against fire. I'll put a flamethrower on my shield and I'll stand there and just burn him down by blocking. That's cool. But when it comes to swinging a weapon, it's the same. You know what I mean? And I never found combat in Breath of the Wild to be particularly good. I don't think it's good here. Same goes when it comes to like bosses. Some of the boss battles are really great, but only for how novel they are and how inventive they are with their mechanics, not because it's great to fight the boss. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, quality of life is another big challenge. Like, the cooking system remains the same. And that was a major pain point for me. You're just having to go into your menu every time to pull out the thing, hold the thing, put it in the pot, stand there, watch the thing. Okay, now I've got one thing. Let's do that all over again 15 times to make myself, a fish pie or whatever, right? So that stays the same. I think weapon durability remains a major bugbear. And I still firmly believe that this is a worthwhile system that Nintendo have not dialed in correctly. And I think it's actually worse here because because I thought the fuse system would allow you to make weapons stronger so you would churn through weapons less. But that's not true. The fuse system lets you make weapons do more attack damage, but they don't become that much more durable. And so you're still churning through weapons so often, and it's annoying. I'm sorry, but it is. Like, I'm all for this system. I'm a fan of this system, but it's just like, take the edge off it, man. Come on. And not the case, man. You are still burning through weapons so fast. Whenever you're fighting, you'll probably get 3 to 4 enemies out of your average weapon. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you do not get many enemies out of each weapon. Let's put it that way. That has not been solved. If that was a deal breaker for you in Breath of the Wild, it is a deal breaker again for you here. So yeah,
good to know.
But in as I said, that's all the stuff that hasn't changed, and that sort of is a bit of a frustration still. But the scale of this world now is so much bigger, and the density of it is so much. Oh God, you cannot go 50 feet without finding something to do. All of the puzzles and stuff that was shoved into the shrines before, they're now out in the open world. And it's just, this entire world is this puzzle box. And I would actually liken it to Elden Ring in a way, right? I think if you took the scale and the sense of discovery in Elden Ring, this has that. But take out the good combat and the boss encounters of Elden Ring and replace it with just wall-to-wall interesting puzzles and little things that you can find along the way, right? If you just swap those things out, you have two experiences that are actually, funnily enough, very analogous to each other. If you could combine the perfection of Elden Ring's combat and boss design with the perfection of Nintendo's open world puzzle box design, you will have the perfect video game. Will that ever happen? Probably not. But it's still pretty rad. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like I just keep talking, and I know that's not very fun to listen
that's
to.
the thing, because
No,
you're not the only one who's played it, and so
You're the only
it's
one that has the
interesting.
experience.
No, yeah,
Because
sure.
at the same time, I have told you guys, my fears about playing it is that I wonder if I am gonna fall off if there's not a guiding hand for me. So how did you
Yes.
find approaching a world as rich and as dense as this one?
I definitely had that top of mind as I went in.
Mm.
Because at the start I was like, oh, this is much more Breath of the Wild than I thought it was going to be. I hope this
Is it
holds
the
my
same
interest.
map? Like the same part of Hyrule?
Yeah, without giving some things away,
Okay.
yes, it is nominally. But don't forget, there's the Sky Isles, which is
Yes.
this whole other landmass or archipelago above you, right? So, I went in there thinking, is this going to be enough to really keep me interested? But I found myself so much more engaged with this, and I enjoyed Breath of the Wild, by the way. I liked it, finished it, of course. I found myself so much more drawn along by this world because it was so much more dense. There was so much more to discover. And the way you could interact with it at all times was so much more interesting. Like before, you kind of just had to run or get on a horse and that was it, right? But now it's like, well, I feel like flying and I'm just going to build a fucking rocket ship and you just build it and then you go. And it's like, you can do that at any point. Any point. Anything you see, you can go there by this almost unlimited number of means. And that makes the world so interesting to engage with because you're always thinking, well, not always like, where should I go? You're always thinking, where should I go? But you're also thinking, what would be a fun way to get there? And that just activates a completely different part of your brain that I found so fun and that really pulled me along. So, yeah, no, I was like the whole way through, man. I was feeding it every hour. And I'm like, I'm going to go back and play more of it. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get 100% on this, but I definitely want to tick off.
I'll do it for us, Ralph. Don't worry. I got it.
I mean, the idea of getting all the Korok seeds and all that sort of shit sounds like absolute hell.
Yep.
But no, I definitely plan to finish most of the things because of how much I really, really loved this, for sure.
Can you make a gun?
I mean, you could in a way make a gun if you took some logs, for example, or some beams and then put a rocket on the top of it and then fired, then managed to somehow activate the rocket. It could be a gun. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Absolutely. You could make a gun.
Well, so I
Thank you.
saw, so obviously,
Thank you for that very American question.